Let's take a look at 15 of the greatest concept cars of all time. Number 15. BMW Gina. BMW says that the name Gina is an acronym for Geometry and Functions in N Adaptations, but I'm not quite sure that I believe them. Still, as much as the acronym kinda sucks, the car itself is pretty impressive. For a start, it looks great. It's the kind of car that you feel pretty cool about if you were driving down the street in it. It kinda looks like the thing a superhero might drive, and the BMW name gives it a little extra oomph too. Maybe the most interesting thing of all is that this car is built from modified spandex, the same stuff that's often used for clothing. Also called lycra, spandex is a synthetic material that's known for being stretchy and elastic. So why use spandex? Well, it's resistant to water and more durable than a lot of other materials. The fact that it's so elastic also means that it's easy to change the shape of the car, so it's much more fluid than anything you're likely to see elsewhere. And 10 of them were created with the ability to hit a high speed of just under 200 miles an hour. Its big reveal was a piece of showmanship too, coming at the official press launch at Pinewood Studios. What's interesting here is that the Aston Martin didn't just develop the car and provide it to the studio. Spectre director Sam Mendes also worked closely alongside the team at Aston Martin, which was led by Chief Creative Officer Marek Reichman. That's very cool. Number 13. Italdesign Aztec. The Italdesign Aztec is a weird-looking but very cool concept car design that came about in the 80s, and which almost certainly wouldn't be created today. It's just so over the top that if someone tried to do it in the 21st century, people would probably laugh at it. It's built from carbon fiber, aluminum, and Kevlar, the latter of which is also used for making bulletproof vests. I wouldn't suggest shooting at the car though. If you're lucky enough to have one, it's worth a decent amount of money. Of course, the first thing that you're likely to notice about this car is the fact that a hell of a lot of what you need to know from its name alone. We're talking about a car that can hit the water without sinking. It's equipped with an air cushion that's reminiscent of those that we see on hovercrafts. Perhaps the most impressive thing about this car, though, other than the fact that it can hit the water, is that it can move seamlessly from one surface to another and achieve speeds of over 60 miles per hour. This includes its performance on ice and snow, as well as water. The Aqua is also much better for the environment than most other vehicles because it doesn't rely on fossil fuels. Instead, it uses hydrogen-powered motors that are much cleaner, though I can only imagine that it gobbles the stuff up. It's also worth noting that the Volkswagen Aqua isn't exactly suitable for regular roads. Instead, it's really designed for people who are traveling through unusual terrain. And if you're planning on staying on land, then you're better off with a 4x4. But then, these never went into widespread production anyway. Number 11. Peugeot Honey Bee. As you can tell from the name here, the Peugeot features two to enjoy. In other words, it's not just a gimmick with nothing else going for it than its unusual appearance. It comes with four-wheel drive and steering, and its panoramic windows means you can see everything around you. You can even look up at the night sky and watch the stars through the roof, though I'd advise not trying this while you're driving. Number 10. Lamborghini Asterion LPI 910-4. The Lamborghini Asterion LPI 910-4 might be a bit of a mouthful, but you'll want to bear with me because it's actually more accessible than most other Lamborghinis. In fact, when this concept car was first introduced back in 2014, the idea was to create a Lamborghini that was more accessible to the average driver. The Asterion takes its name from a mythical minotaur, but don't expect something with the trademark Lamborghini growling engine. This particular vehicle was designed with efficiency in mind, which is why it comes with a quieter electric motor and a V10 engine. Of course, it looks like it dropped out of a wormhole, or was brought along by a time traveler who decided to stop by and pay us a visit. Maybe a time traveler from 2046. The design of this crazy vehicle is inspired by the Taihu stone, a type of porous limestone that's found in China at the foot of the Dongting Mountain. If you look at the stone, you'll quickly see why, although I'm also glad that they didn't focus too heavily on copying it. The Taihu 2046 features all sorts of awesome features, including a wraparound screen and an unusual interior, which includes a flexible surface that allows you to turn the car into a tent so you can camp inside it. It's also the first car on this list that wasn't designed by a major manufacturer. Instead, it was created by a 22-year-old transportation design student called Huang Hao, who was studying at the Academy of Art and Design at Beijing's Tsinghua University. Not too bad, considering he ranked above Lamborghini on our list. Number 8. Ferrari Millennio. The Ferrari named after Buckminster Fuller. Bucky paper isn't particularly common at the moment, but you shouldn't be surprised if you see it becoming more and more common in the months and years to come. That's because it's stronger than steel and lighter than carbon fiber, although its pricing is something else entirely. The Ferrari Millennio also includes two electric engines that can either be recharged through solar panels or through an inbuilt power transfer system. On the downside, it only has a couple of seats, and you're not going to be able to pack it full of shopping bags. Number 7. Alfa Romeo Bat 7. The BAT in this concept car stands for Berlina Aerodynamica Technica. But don't make the mistake of thinking that it has anything to do with Berlin. The Alfa Romeo BAT range is a series of concept cars that came about as a collaboration between Italian manufacturer Alfa Romeo and Italian designers Bertone. There were 3 different cars in the range, all of which were designed by Giuseppe Bertone and the great Franco Scaglione. But it's the BAT almost 70 years old. Much of its design was inspired by airplanes, with Bertone having worked within the aeronautical industry. Even so long after its development, it has design elements that look like they come from the future. Number 6. The Lamborghini Ferruccio. Designed by Mark Hostler, the Lamborghini Ferruccio is a concept car that was developed independently rather than by anyone from the company. In that way, it's reminiscent of the Taihu 2046. Hostler is based at England's Staffordshire University and created this design as a tribute to the company's 50th anniversary back in 2013. The design features a smaller engine, a 5-liter V12 engine with a couple of superchargers and direct injection technology. Transportation design student Hostler's homage to Ferruccio Lamborghini and his company was described as a, quote, a car that takes inspiration from the company's lineage and also showcases their current design language and innovations of the company in their trade to the finish line. It's a cool car, but it's probably not worth the $8 million it was set to be sold for. In fact, it's the price point that's likely the reason why the project failed. It's not as though there was anything wrong with the car itself, which featured massive 23-inch rims and a Maybach V12 engine that would have allowed it to reach an insane top speed of 218 miles per hour. I'm talking about a concept car that really has no equal. Sure, the actual design of the car isn't anything revolutionary, but it looks great, and what really matters here is beneath the hood. It's just a shame that they were never built. Interestingly enough, the job of designing this car was given to 4 students from Germany's Pforzheim Design Academy. It took 9 months for the winning design to be picked, with that honor falling to a student called Frederick Burchard. Number 4. Lamborghini Gallardo Concept S. Lamborghini is at it again. The fact that they've had so many vehicles on this list just goes to show you how dedicated they are to innovating and shaping the future, which Lamborghini was thinking about making 100 of these, mostly so they could sell them to their superfans. For whatever reason, they instead decided to keep it just as a good idea. Number 3. Lamborghini Marzal. Spoiler alert, this is the last Lamborghini that we're going to take a look at. Given that this is the 4th one, that's probably for the best. Need to give other manufacturers a chance to rank after all. As you can tell from its place on this list, the Marzal is a favorite of the lot, and with good reason. The core idea here was to take the V12 from the Miura and to half it, creating a 2-liter V6 to bring a more affordable 4-seater to the market. It was a pretty cool idea, but it never really made it to the market. Ferruccio Lamborghini, the company's founder, decided it to be a throwaway design that was more about garnering attention and PR coverage than being a realistic vehicle. And yet despite all of that, the Lamborghini Marzal is still one of the most well-known and best-loved concept cars in history. You could argue that it's risingly, given what this car looks like, they succeeded. The Karen's unique pyramid-shaped design meant that 3 people could sit side by side in the cabin, which actually feels more like a cockpit. The driver sat in the middle and steered the pyramid from there. There's also a great little piece of irony here. When they were creating this vehicle, instead of using the latest tech from the 80s, Citroën used a bunch of pre-existing technology, including a suspension from the 1950s, that actually stopped it from feeling as dated as it otherwise might have been. Number 1. Chrysler ME 412. The top spot on this list goes to the very deserving Chrysler ME 412, which came about when Daimler and Chrysler merged at the end of the 20th century. The two companies were in very different places when it came to their design and technological capabilities, and so they decided to work together on a concept car. The ME412 is a mid-engine supercar that uses a 6-liter V12 engine.